So this is Baruch Fleischman here. You know I'm at the Tikkun elevator, Kollel, and I got this gong sound up here. It's an announcement that we're about to enter into the zone of the Riyah Kodesh and the Shar Tanta with the Otzrot Chaim. It's a very heavy stuff. And I try to think about different ways to understand what's going on. It's really not to teach only. It's really to understand it myself better. So I thought of this. Now imagine that you are in space. You're floating in space. And the space, as we know, has no color to it at all. It's a vacuum. So there is no up, there is no down, there's no right, left, inside, outside, none of that. Totally is completely opaque. There's nothing to be seen and nowhere to go. In the distance, you see a light. Interesting, so you go towards the light. And as you're going towards the light, as it gets closer, you see that the light is really in the form of a line. And as you look at this line, you see it get closer and closer. And you move, however, to the side slightly. And you see, let's say you move to the left. And we're defining the word left, but you move to the side in some way of this line, and you see that it's not just one line, but actually it's two lines. Because when you looked at it head on, it looked like just one line, but on the other side, that is a vertical line, let's say in relationship to you. But as you looked at it a little bit more from the side, you saw that there's actually another line. There's a horizontal line coming to it also. And now it looks like the shape of a dalet. And you continue to turn towards the left, let's say your left or one side, and you could see there's a leg there. There's actually a leg that's not connected to the two vertical lines. That is, to the two lines, one vertical, one horizontal. There is a leg there. Now the question is that this only takes place, and you're able to see this, because of the fact that you moved slightly, or in relationship to it, it became actually three elements instead of one, and now it's in the form of the letter Hey. So originally it just looked like a line, but then as you came closer to it, then you saw and you were able to look at it from the side that relatively to your new position was something else. Now the truth is that you could go up on top of it, and then you would have the definition of what is up. And then you could look down on it, and it would look like a horizontal bar until you moved to the side or in some way that you could see it differently. Now, I'm really trying to explain some of the difficulty in understanding the light that is coming between the Otzrot and later we're going to get to the Peh of Ak. It's called the Achap, Otzrot and Peh. We talked about this here. Because in creation, there really is no up-down. We're really defining it and making the different relationships like that. Now, I looked up just a quick definition of Einstein's theory of relativity. So, because I'm looking at little Aryeh Kaplan, and he's a physicist, besides being, a mystic of, a real teacher. He's telling me over there, that everything is relative to a center line of gravity. If you think about it, gravity is the one thing that defines up and down. So as far as time is concerned, as far as dimension is concerned, and all of space is concerned, it takes on a reality only if it's relative to this concept of gravity. Now, in other words, that's the theory of relativity. Now, he has mathematical things about it. I never studied them. He actually calculates this, and it's a fact. So the question is, everything is relative. So we're just talking about understanding what this gravitational pull is. Now, just as an introduction, or what I'm saying right now is strictly meant as an introduction to this little piece that we're learning in the Otzrot Chaim. Here we are on page Kafbet. If you get this, it's available from your local Jewish bookseller. Shar Tanta Perek Beis. So everything is relative, and gravity seems like the concept that was stated by the Sulam is that Malchus is the Ratzon Dekabel, the desire to receive, and that's gravity. Everything gets pulled by gravity. So if this is how objects become related one to the next. It's a very complicated thing if we start thinking about the circle, the Earth, which is rotating in a circle, and then we think about the planets, the seven Kokvei Lechet, that are going around the sun, and then, of course, the sun is moving through the galaxy. Everything is relative. Very important to know that. And so here we come over here to a little explanation by the Teva Kavanos of the concept of the Aleph. So we'll take it little by little. We'll make it nice and neat. So you're in space, right? There's nothing space, and there's a line, and now we've developed to the point where we understand that there is a hay out there. You have to really get close to it to be able to see it, but there it is if you get the right angle on it, if you're relatively in the right angle. Now here we go. It says, Gevarnis Boyer, Ki Ba'oris HaChoitim. So we're saying that there is some concept out there called a nose. Again, the nose is relative to the center of the face. It's relative to two particular openings within it. It's relative to the concept of one being on one side called the right and one being on the other side called the left. And here we go. Sharak ha'oz vav nizgalta v'nechlecha l'shisha halafim. So only the letter vav there, and we described this, is separated and revealed and divided into 6 different olives. So he says, Ak oz dalid, and nela nechlechas the dalid halafim. But we don't see over here that there's a dalid. If we looked at it really closely, besides that one vertical line, which is the vav, now we look at the horizontal line, which is a dalid, but it's not so clear. It's still hidden over here at the level of the vav of the nose. V'hi nisheres behelim, it remains hidden. Amnam im kol zeh yesh kan remez ba'alma. So we're getting a little introduction here to the concept of these letters. It says that there's a hint to this, a common hint, shagam b'soch hadalad yeshnan, that even the dalid, which is hidden still, but that there is a remiss to the fact that it's going to be arba olafim ne'olomim, there are going to be 5 hidden olives inside, 4 hidden olives inside of this dalid. And so how does it come together like that? Now remember we said that originally the nose is really in the form of an olive, the nose itself. And the 6 lights, the light that comes out of the nose can be divided into 6 portions. So that like the generation that what is generated from this nose, which is in the form of an olive, each side of each nostril has a 6 coming out of it, which has hidden within them 6 olives. As you get closer to it, if you were able to approach it and be near to that, then you would be able to see the olives more clearly. But over here in the vav, there's only a vav. The daled is hidden. So, but we want to say, the Rav wants to say that there's a way that we can see that there's a remiss to this. Now let's see the remiss. The kavarnish bashabar she is bar la'el. The hare os aleph nidden the kaisva betzuras yud vav yud. So the normal way, just turn it to the left a little bit, and you'll have a yud on the top, a vav on the diagonal, and a yud on the other end, on the bottom. And this is what the aleph ultimately would look like if it was like that. So he said, but there's another way that you could write it also. Besides writing it yud vav yud, you could also write it yud vav daled. Kolomer yud lamala, that is, there's a yud up above. A daled chafucha lamata, there's an upside down daled below. And then there's a vav be'emsa kazeh, and it looks like this: yud up above, diagonal, and then an upside down daled. V'hine yeshnan arba alofim. So here we say that there are actually 4 of these olives. Harumozim ba'oz dalad in its keres that really are hinted at by this dalad that we're talking about. Asher shtayim behem heim b'tzuras yud vav dalad. And he says these olives are like 2 of them are in the form of yud vav dalad. That's this one. V'shtayim behem b'tzuras yud vav yud, which is this one. So he says, v'hu ba'ofen zeh. Now how do you do this? Now let's go back to our previous learning. Ki ma'ozen, from the nose, yatsa eser spheros. Excuse me, that's the wrong word. Ki ma'ozen, from the ear, comes out 10 spheros. They're the 10 spheros of the ear. V'hagam shaha'orcha yotzim min ha'ozen hu b'tzuras hey. So now that we've come close to the ear, now we could see that the look of that of the 10 spheros is in the form of a hay. So we said before, you have a daled and a vav. It could be a daled and a vav that makes 10. So then you see that it's like that. It could be broken down into that. Now, of course, you have to get very close to it to be able to see that. This is what the Rab is doing. He calls that kan hu nechshav ka'os yud. But in any case, it's considered to be a yud. The fisha yeshvo as a spheros, because it's 6 spheros. It has 10 spheros. And even though that we have a vav and a daled that is part of it, if you spell it yud vav daled, but you really see the yud. V'chein min ha'chaitim yatsu eser spheros. So now let's go back over here. For the nose also comes out 10 spheros. Shehem osios daled and vav, because we can see the vav, but the daled is hidden. But we understand that if you look at it, get real close to it, that it's going to be there. It's not there in a way that you normally, relative to looking at it, would be able to see it. Not at the level of the nose. But if you could get into it more, you could see the potential for a daled is there. And I will explain that potential, how we can see it here in a hint form. So now if you take the letter yud, sheba'oras ha'ozen, that are in the yozen ha'yamanis, so go to the right ear. Just imagine, look at your right ear. And now you have 10 spheres coming out of that in the form of this hay, which is a daled and a vav, which makes 10. Im osios do. So it has these. This is the way that the hay is made, daled and a vav. Shel nekev yamanis shebechoitim. So now here, let me read it again. You take the os yud that comes from the right ear, with the letters daled and vav, daled being hidden, of course, in the right nostril. Harehem shlosha osius yud vav daled. So you have now the yud from the right ear and the vav daled that's in the nose, in the right nose. Shemehem nisan the harkiv os aleph. So these can be used together in a way to make the letter aleph. So he says, like what? He says, well, you have a yud, you have a vav, and you have a daled. So you say you have the yud lamala, the vav in the middle, and the daled down below, and it looks like this. So right here, you could see how you could make that. V'zechu remez the os aleph v'rishonah ha'meromezes ba'os daled. So this is to tell you about the aleph, the first aleph here, that is really a hint to the concept that there's a daled in there. Sheyatza ma'ozim v'chotin yamin, because now we have a way of constructing a vav and a daled. So the vav again is coming from the milui of the concept of the yud. The yud vav daled, the last two. So in this way, as you take the letter yud hayotze me'ozen small, you do the same thing. You take the yud because there's a yud spheros over there in the left ear. And then the left nostril, you take that daled and vav, now you have a yud vav daled again. Now you have another set of yud vav daled, in the same way that you had it in the left nostril, in the right nostril. So in other words, the left nostril put together with the ear makes a yud vav daled, which is to tell us that there's a daled over here someplace. Mahare zu os aleph ashniya amremedes be'os daled gazeh, which is the yud above and the vav diagonal and the upside down daled. That's what it makes. Now you have two of them. V'nimsa sheyesh shnei alafim b'tzuras yud vav dalet. Now it turns out that you have two different alafim coming out of the nose, and that there's this dalet that's hidden in there, and you understand it because the vav, where's the vav come from? The vav comes from the hay of the ear. And the ear is a vav and a dalet also, but hidden inside of this vav, the dalet is not revealed. And he says that that's a fact. You just have to know the dalet is not revealed here. And it's in the 4 aleph of this letter dalet, because the dalet is a 4. Now, as we go forward in the next year, harav od shnei mini alafim shetzurasim aleph vav, yud vav yud. That's the other one. So as we go to the next section, we're going to see how this develops. Shekan shechan nitzarfim, because when you put them together, the shnei alafim shebetzuras aleph yud vav dalet, harehem arba alafim, and now that's how you get to 4. Now this is a real deep little excursion into examination in inner space, the space of nothingness, with the appearance of an opening that produces the letter Hey, which can be made into a 10, and it can be made into a vav and a dalet, and it could move downwards. So we'll look at it a little bit more in the next year. This is Baruch Fleischman. This is, I think, the 11th shir in the Otzrot using the Tiv Chaim.